Hey everyone, you're watching a new episode of Home Place Florida. My name is Steve Feller. I'm a realtor with Future Home Realty here in Tampa Bay area, Florida. Today's episode dedicated to successful steps to closing on the property. Let's go! So, how to buy a house, it's series 101 for beginners. So my first recommendation, first of all, when you planning to buy new property, it's will be a home or a condo or anything type of real estate property. First of all, you need to sit down and think, do you have enough cash to buy this property? Or do you have enough cash to do a down payment for this property? What's your options to do down payment? Is it because there's different programs assisting with the first home for the first home buyers? And also, if you apply for the loan, you need to do pre-approval, people. Pre-approval is very important because what happens is people don't realize that they may have some financial clouds over their head and they're not really qualifying for certain amount of loan, or they can qualify only for less loan. So before you even start looking for property, first I would recommend you go to financial institution like bank or mortgage company, any company that offers mortgages for the home and property mortgages, and talk to them. You need to be pre-approved. What does mean is basically the financial advisor, mortgage advisor will take your information and calculate based on your income and based on how much you can put down payment, how much property you can afford. All right, let's say you found the property, all right? So that's your dream house and you have financial approval and now you can buy it. The first step, you're doing the offer. You're doing the offer directly or you're doing an offer through a real estate agent. So now let's say you get represented by the buyer's agent because you're the buyer, so your agent contacts seller's agent, listing agent, and basically says, okay, here's the offer we want to present. Any contract, before it goes to execution, has to go through the thorough steps. Verification, that's where real estate agent or lawyer, attorney who basically practice real estate law can advise you. In Florida, you can also just go to a real estate agent, can advise you, because it could be a standard FAR/BAR contract or can be a custom tailored contract. For example, if you buy brand new properties from the construction company, usually it's that thick custom tailored contract which will tell you all the details, and I would recommend those contracts if you don't understand legal words or you don't understand something. I would also recommend you to address this, just hire a real estate attorney or maybe ask a realtor, but just go through this contract step by step and understand what you're signing off for. And there's also much simplified contracts made for average day-to-day purchase of existing home properties. It's called FAR/BAR contract, which is Florida Association of Realtors contract, specifically designed for simplicity of the words, but still have a lot of canons that can be hard to understand especially for the first-time buyer. So before you sign this, you need to understand what is the seller obligated to do and what you as a buyer obligated to do. All right, and one of the things you'll be obligated to do is to apply for their mortgage. So basically, based on your pre-approval that I just spoke earlier, you need to make sure that you apply for mortgage and you get financing. All right, next. All right, the next step is earnest money deposit. That's the deposit that you need to do when you buy a property. So let's say you already full executed contract. You agree to buy this property. Now, based on the percentage of the property and what you agree up to, you need to do escrow deposit. Usually escrow deposits are held by title companies or legal firms, but you can always ask your realtor who represents you how to put earnest money deposit. It has to be written in a contract and it has to be name of the agent, escrow agent, and who will receive this, and you'll receive basically a slip that you deposited that amount. Usually it has to be done within 3 days. Sometimes can be extended in the contract terms, but 3 days, that's the usual term. Step number 3. Well, you already signed a contract. you agreed to buy, you applied for a mortgage, and you made escrow deposit. But next step is property appraisal. Property appraisal is something that every major, or not even major, every lender will request to do, and basically they will charge you money, but their appraiser agent will go and appraise the property. What does it mean? It said that if you agree to buy this property, let's say for $400,000, their agent goes, take pictures of the property, estimates, do comparative market analysis, and brings the proof to the lender that this property worth that money. And if it doesn't worth, they can come back to you and say, well, sorry, but we cannot give you that amount because according to our appraisal, it doesn't worth that much. All right, so that's a very important step, and usually you'll receive notification from your lender that the appraiser will go on the property and do appraisal. All right, next step, and this step, it's a property inspection. This is very important. Usually it's in the contract goes between 5 and 10 days, can be extended, but the faster, the earlier you do your home inspection, that's property inspection that you're planning to buy, that's important. Especially hot states like Florida, where it's hot and humid, you want to know that AC system is working properly, right? You want to know that electricity is running properly. You want to know the plumbing, you want to know the roofing, because summertime we have heavy tropical rains here in Florida, so you want to make sure that your roof doesn't leak, or your plumbing is not get stocked, or anything. So it's very important, and you also can find yourself, but you can ask your real estate agents. Usually real estate agents help to find good home inspector, they working with home inspector companies, and that's where this specialist comes in and spends a few hours, depends on the size of the property, and creates thorough checklist of the issues found. It could be as simple as, for example, improperly wired outlet or leaking kitchen tap. That's very simple to fix. Or could be expensive, like replacing AC system which doesn't work. That could be cost for between $6,000 to $10,000. Depends again on the size. Some properties have multiple 2 or 3 AC systems, so that's very important. Plumbing, to make sure that if all these steps needs to be done, and that's important, do not ignore home inspection. Home inspector, that's your friend who will, not really a friend, but that's the person who will go and inspect and find any tiniest problems that could be before you closing. And that's also depends on your contract, because if you buy, like for example, if a simple far bar as is contract, then you can come back and say, okay, well, roof is leaking, or there's a problem with AC, and seller really not obligated to fix anything, because this is as is. That could be yes or no. You can say, well, then we're gonna break the contract. If they want, they'll fix it. Most times, if some small problems, sellers will fix it, or they will compensate you with basically readjust the selling price for the house to compensate you. For example, let's say it will cost you $10,000 to replace AC unit, so they'll lower down their price for $10,000 to cover that cost. All right, so that's one of the things. Next step. All right, next step, it's title examination, or what they call title search. That's very important, and title search company, that's one of the most important steps, as well as in home inspection. There's inspection, and this is required by most lenders. Why? Because you need to know that title is clear, there's no issues with the title, it's owned by the people who say that they own the property, is owned by, and there is no other claims by either vendors. For example, let's say again, maybe AC company fixed unit and people didn't pay them, or there's a roofing company that fixed roof a few months before and they didn't pay them, so they put lien on the property. Those liens will show up. Again, it's very important, and title company will produce clear title. Clear titles mean that it's title that's clear of any issues, that the house is paid off and or not paid off but will be paid off, or how much they own the mortgage, how much has to be paid back to the lender of the current owner. If any liens on the property, other liens on the property, they need to be paid off. If any taxes, back taxes owned by to the government, that's all very important. And at the end, they'll produce clean title insurance policy. Title insurance policy, it's a policy that guarantees that after you purchase the property and there's search done and they didn't find it, there's tiny mistakes made and something arises in the future, you will not be responsible to pay for this. The title insurance company will cover this. Title insurance policy will cover your title issues if anything arises. So that's important. But you have to understand this, it's done, it's in the contract, it's one of the essential steps that real estate agent and a mortgage company will ask you to do, and it's guided in there, so it's there. All right, next step is a survey. Survey is another step that most of the lenders will require, and usually when you buy a property, like let's say you're buying a lot or you're buying a standalone house, that's very important because the surveyor company will come in and make sure that the size of the boundaries and specific geological locations and degrees and numbers and sizes all equal to what's recorded in the public record. Because if sometimes it rarely happens, but it happens, sometimes your neighbor's fence can be a few inches off their property and go to your property, or vice versa. Your fence of your property, if there's a fence, can go neighbor's property, and that can create some issues in the future. So that has to be done, and professional surveyor, they come in and they'll do this. All right, next step. All right, so next step is proof of insurance. You need to make sure before you're closing a new property, you need to make sure that all the required insurances you have applied for, you received you're purchasing policies, and you have proof of those policies, you send it to your lender. What is this? Because in Florida there are a lot of different conditions applied. It could be hurricane insurance, flood insurance. Certain places requires flood insurance. That's wind insurance. For example, if your property is located at the area where it's close to the beach area, that's usually additional insurances or provisions of insurance that require for the home insurance. So that's very important step, and that's one of the steps that you need to do and shop for the insurance during the purchasing of the new property. All right. Okay, and now we come into the closing, and all is done completely. You have insurance, you have survey, you have mortgage, everything's ready. But last thing, and I had this question covered in other videos, the importance is of the final walkthrough. Final walkthrough is basically when, right before the closing, you go back to the property that you buy and you're doing a walkthrough. Make sure that there's nothing changed since the last state, since you saw this last time. If it's furniture that needs to be removed, or some personal belongings, some property that needs to be removed before the closing, make sure that the existing owner removes this, because once you close it, that maybe become your headache to remove a clogged garage or anything that doesn't belong to you, but really you don't need it. It needs to be out. All right, and let's say there's no leak, no water leaks, no roof leaks, nothing reappeared that since home inspection was there, and they say everything's fine, or something wasn't fine, or something has to be fixed. Final walkthrough signifies and basically tells you, you'll check, make sure to go through the checklist, make sure that everything is done, everything is ready for you to sign that final paper. All right, so the days come, and basically that's your day when you buy a new property, when you become official happy owner of that new house or house that you dream about. So what's important, and I'll read it to you because there's a few documents that I want to make sure that I'm not missing anything. First of all, it's warranty deed, bill of sale, closing affidavit. closing statement, loan documents such as note and mortgage. All those documents have to be signed, and that's usually signed directed by your closing agent at the title company. All these paperwork will be signed. That's how, when you come to closing table, or they send you now through the COVID-19 or another pandemics issues, that basically they send you directly to your email, secure email, when you sign PDF document electronically. But all these documents have to be signed. Then it goes to your lender. Lender verifies. Everybody's happy, and that's where your house become yours. That's where you get handle keys, money, funds transferred to the bank or to a seller, and that's it. We went it through. It's very simple steps, and as much as could be sound maybe complicated or you misunderstood, feel free to give me a call, ask me questions. I'm more than glad to ask you. You can find me on homeplaceflorida.com. You can find me on Facebook. You can find me in other websites, but just search Steve Feller, Future Home Realty, homeplaceflorida.com. Don't forget to give me your likes, sign up for my channel, and see you next time.